Hey, this is Pamela Riemenschneider. I'm the retail editor for Blue Book Services, and this is the Produce Reporter Week in Review. Greg Johnson, our Director of Media Development, has put together a package of stories from the cover story from Produce Blueprints, this most recent edition, and it's something a little kind of out of left field for Blue Book Services. What are we covering?
Yeah, we're going to talk about cannabis, and I have a prompt. It's the magazine. Were you thinking it was going to be something else, you weirdos? This is a business publication. Anyway, no, it's a really interesting story because our senior writer, Richard Smoley, talks about how the cannabis industry has grown since legalization, both in the US and Canada, and what it means for a fresh produce industry. And we've had stories throughout this week, and it'll end next week, so our readers can get an idea of what it means to their business. A couple of trends that we've seen are, for example, in Canada, it became legal in 2018, and a lot of acreage immediately shifted over to cannabis. And within, less than 2 years, they started to figure out that it wasn't the pot of gold that they thought it was going to be. It wasn't quite as profitable. And then when the pandemic hit, a lot of that acreage shifted back into fruits and vegetables, which were in higher demand.
Yeah, I actually have been to Leamington in the last 2 years, and I was there in early 2020, right before the shutdown, and the smell, first of all, is overpowering, but also the lights. It's a significant contributor to light in Leamington at night. So they've been having some ups and downs with the neighborhoods, but the other thing is that there's a huge demand from the fruit and vegetable greenhouses. They want not only the lit agriculture, they want the lights at night, to grow year round, but it's the materials and the space. And so there's a huge back and forth in Leamington as well.
One of the most interesting things in the US market is how it's different in every state, the legalization levels. But Florida is an interesting example because growing hemp just became legal to get a license for that in April of 2020. And in less than 10 months, by February of 2021, so just a couple months ago, they had already gotten up to 35,000 acres of hemp in the state of Florida. And that, for instance, is considerably bigger than the acreage of tomatoes or snap peas or watermelon, and many times larger than strawberries, and getting close to citrus acreage in Florida. And one of the interesting angles to that is the democratically elected ag commissioner is Nikki Fried, and she really made her name lobbying for the hemp and cannabis industries. And then she won the election. So that will be something to follow, how this whole thing works out in Florida.
I mean, if it works out for the industry and if the industry thrives, then Nikki Fried's governor race that she just started could go well for her. But if it tanks like it has, not necessarily tanks, people are still making money, but there, as we have in our magazine, that it's not as much money as people would have thought. I remember Colorado being talked about as a boom when it was legalized there to grow, and real estate went crazy. But if it doesn't pan out in Florida, then that could have huge implications for Commissioner Fried's political aspirations as well. But just to hear that it's bigger than watermelons. It's big, the acreage amount is bigger than watermelons and all these other specialty crops already in just 10 months. That's just outrageous.
It's amazing. Yeah, it'll be very interesting to follow. People are investing heavily in it, and we don't know yet if that's going to pay off. So it will be really interesting.
And the angle of people wanting to get back into fruits and vegetables makes sense because, the other lettuce grown in controlled atmosphere, all of these vertical farms that we see, when I'm looking for vertical farm news or controlled agriculture news, it's probably 2 to 1 or even more than that of venture capital going into that. We had a story this week about what was it? Revolve Greens is coming here about an hour up the road from me. And then every other day, there's another story of another partnership between a vertical farm and some entity. A lot of them have been institutional food service lately as well. like exclusive contract deals with a college or healthcare system or something like that. So we're seeing these scaled down to fit very niche markets. It's really fascinating to watch the growth in the area.
But a lot of investment.
A lot of money.
Somebody's
a lot of money.
Investing a lot of money into thinking this is going to work.
I mean, the Bowery Farm in New York alone, wasn't it valued at like more than $2 billion? What is the U.S. lettuce market, valuation compared to that? Just total lettuce market. It's out, like, wow.
All right, so let's go from talking about billions to talking about dollars.
Dollars, cents.
Because one of our biggest stories of the week was the introduction of pilots of fresh produce in the Dollar Tree chain. So my question would be, have you seen what this looks like?
No, and very few people that I know of have seen it. It's a very small pilot among Dollar Tree stores. And if you recall, a couple of years ago, Dollar Tree bought Family Dollar, the competitor to Dollar General. So when we talk about Dollar Tree, we think about, what do we think about when we buy a Dollar Tree? What, like $1 reading glasses?
$1 reading glasses, yes.
Yeah.
I'm a Dollar Tree shopper when it comes to $1 reading glasses, but it's not limited to that because I also buy my sunglasses at Dollar Tree. So
those are amazing.
Somewhere I don't feel as bad.
My sunglasses are still prescription, so I have a little more style than that.
I don't know how they're making money on that.
So Dollar Tree, getting back to the point, it's known for the everything is $1 concept, and that's not what they're doing from what I can tell in produce, because they have a new format called Dollar Tree Plus, and that's including items that are more than $1. And I have not yet seen what the produce looks like. And the other funny thing is that it looks like they did an influencer campaign when they launched this plus format and paid like couponing and crazy low spenders. And even one of them was like cheap keto or something like that, to do video tours of this new concept to buy all the cool things that you can get at Dollar Tree for cheap. Nobody bought produce though. So all of my investigations couldn't find anything yet. And so if you have seen Dollar Tree produce, I'd love to see it. Share a photo with me. You know how to find me.
I haven't seen it either. I go to a Dollar Tree occasionally, and I would love to see produce in there. And if it looked good, I would buy it. Especially if I ran out of bananas, for instance, and they had them at like 3 for $1, or that wouldn't be that hard.
No, and I mean, the traditional discount price for bananas is like 25 cents a piece or something like that. So 3 for $1, 4 for $1, something like that, that would be profitable for them. This follows what we've seen in Dollar General. If you recall, Dollar General a couple of years ago piloted produce, and I went on a similar needle in a haystack search to try to find produce at a Dollar General, and I ended up finding it in Nashville, of all places.
I remember it was right by Vanderbilt, right? Yeah,
it was right by Vanderbilt at a DGX. And actually, they just opened a DGX in Kansas City, of all places, and I could see on LinkedIn that they were doing fresh produce training there. But what I've seen is so exciting for Dollar General in produce, because they're actually working towards self-distribution, which is a lot more efficient for them, a lot more profitable for them. But for consumers, it's an access thing. I mean, there's 17,000 Dollar General stores. If you drive from here to Lubbock, for example, you will go past 20 or 30 Dollar Generals and maybe 3 grocery stores once you get past town, right? So the fact that we're seeing this go into another discount format, first of all, is not surprising, because if it's working for Dollar General, the other guys are going to get into it. But it's also just a food access thing that could be tremendous for food deserts and access to fresh produce.
Yeah, I definitely see it as a good thing. Reaching the masses is something that the industry needs to keep working hard at. And one of the reasons why, whenever we cover Walmart, and I know you like to make fun of some of the things they do, but I will always defend that company for reaching the masses.
Yeah, I will always, I mean, I pick at Walmart because they have a huge target on their backs and they have a huge opportunity. So fresh produce done well at Walmart will reach 90% of the population of the United States, and that's a good thing for fresh produce. But they have the biggest target on their back. They make a lot of mistakes in produce. They do a lot of things right as well. And I've heard feedback from people at Walmart that they appreciate when I pick at them because it helps them run it up the chain to, you know, hopefully get some things changed because, you know, when we talk about discount models and labor and overhead, sometimes labor is the last on the list. And that's oftentimes in produce, the biggest thing we need is more labor. So that's the factor that a fresh produce operation in retail can control. As far as cost control, sometimes that's the thing they go for. But we were talking about access to fresh produce, and we're talking about discount and dollar stores. That brings me to the last thing we're going to talk about this week is a column I wrote last Friday based on being annoyed about press releases.
Well, this is also basically the opposite of reaching the masses.
Right, it is. It is. I got a beef with plant-based people, and it's not just, you know, I don't dislike plant-based stuff. I have pea milk in my fridge because that's what my kid likes in his smoothies.
That sounds like something a 12-year-old would joke about.
It does sound like that, but we switched from flax to pea because apparently pea milk is better.
Oh yeah, sounds like it.
But, you know, to get on to the point, Instacart and Whole Foods both did press releases in the last couple of weeks talking about the growth of the plant-based movement. And Whole Foods' press release is one of their trends where they're basically shilling some of their products in there. But there was one bullet point that really bothered me, and it wasn't only me that was bothered by it because I got feedback from a lot of people about this line that they had in there that was, gone are the days of begging your kids to eat their fruits and vegetables. And it just went on to talk about basically hiding them, sneaking them, or turning them into nuggets. And the last thing the produce industry needs, and fresh produce consumption, or even canned and frozen consumption needs, is extruded fruit and vegetable slurry turned into nugget form.
Yeah, nothing says my product sucks more than we're going to have to fool you into eating it.
Right. I mean, if we're just eating food to have calories, we should just have Soylent Green or whatever, you know. It's
or here comes the bug movement.
There's a lot of those. Actually, I saw a warning about eating locusts the other day, or whatever they are, the cicadas, because they actually have the similar stuff as people who are allergic to seafood. The chitin on their shells is what people are allergic to.
I think I'll be safe there.
Yeah, I'm very safe from that. That's the least of my worries, because you will not catch me eating cicadas ever.
No.
All of this marketing, though, leaves out the produce industry, and I called it a plant-based kick in the teeth because it's just like, you know, everyone knows that fruits and vegetables are good for you. They're good for the business. They're good for, you know, they're beautiful. But to concentrate our marketing and concentrate our promotions and send out these goofy press releases and talking about how great plant-based is and completely diss fresh produce, just, yeah, it was.
Yeah, this kind of marketing is not the produce industry's friend. In fact, it's closer to being the enemy than being the friend, because have a plant means a plant, and there's a lot of benefit in eating whole, fresh fruits and vegetables. And these things that they're talking about plant-based, it's like the whole joke online about the Impossible burgers having the same ingredient list as your dog food. It looks, you know, you can't get away from that. And you do not have to be vegan to enjoy fresh produce. Every diet can accommodate that and should have lots of that. So yeah, I'm also offended by this plant-based stuff. It makes it seem like eating plants is weird.
It makes it seem like eating plants is hard.
That too.
When it's actually way harder to harvest the plants and process the plants and make them into these weird dino nuggies or whatever you want them to be, and then consume them. And then when these people who refuse to eat their fruits and vegetables as kids and their parents capitulated into Dino Nuggies, and I'm gonna get hate mail for this from a lot of people. When people become an adult, what are they gonna eat? More processed, extruded, slurry food that is full of salt and sugar and fat, and maybe a little bit of plants. Just eat a plant.
Yes.
Plant. That's the whole PBH thing. Let's just have a plant. It really reinforces anyone who was on the fence about moving from more matters and fruits and veggies more matters to have a plant. Should really pay attention to what's going on with a lot of the marketing. It was a forward position on changing the marketing of fruits and vegetables, and hopefully we'll see a whole lot more investment, both, you know, just companies jumping onto it, but also media and influencers and people like that. We need more people who think, when you think plant-based, think of plants.
Yes, and we know what plants look like. They do not look like nuggets.
They do not look like nuggets. You don't want to see what goes into the plant-based burger.
There is a wide variety of wonderful fruits and vegetables, and we know what they look like.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for the Produce Reporter Week in Review and rants about plant-based. If you are not getting the Produce Reporter newsletter, you need to go to producebluebook.com and sign up. What do you think, Uli? Do you eat Dino Nuggies? No. Come over here and tell everyone that. Yeah, see, I didn't even coach him. No Dino in this house.
Nuggets full of chicken are good. Fruits and vegetables are good.
What's your favorite vegetable?
Celery. You still thinking about it?
The vegetable you eat the most of is cucumbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Pomegranates. Pomegranates, yeah. Complicated kid.